Hey, what's going on today? I was reading this story, which seemed to be a revitalization of that one where they said they saw a man flying in a jetpack around the airport area. This one says, a man flying in a jetpack has been spotted again in the skies over Los Angeles. In other reports, it says, pilot reports another jetpack rocket man in the sky near LA airport. A rocket man is burning up air traffic controllers once again at Los Angeles International Airport after another flight crew reported a close encounter with an unidentified flying individual in a jetpack. The encounter happened around 1:45 p.m. local time on Wednesday, the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration says. It's the second time a man in a jetpack has been reported near the airport in 6 weeks. What are the odds that this is an optical illusion of sort? Kind of like that other story where those homeowners were saying it's a drone, but a lot of people were saying it's a spider web, even a lot of you guys. Either way, in my mind, if they don't start calling for remote ID on all jetpacks, I'd be wondering, hey, how come? Isn't that more dangerous than a small consumer drone, for example? And then I read this, which made me think of the topic of drone regulations and whether or not the average person truly understands what it means in the overall picture. Because again, a lot of people just think it affects one particular type of drone, let's just say cinematography. They don't factor in if someone's just using something like a racing drone so low around trees and stuff like that. But just reading stuff like this in the more mainstream outlets just shows you how it's misleading people. Like even with general knowledge, it's not true. Like this one here says, flying a drone, follow the rules. Who knew? There are rules for flying drones and you should. What began as a model aircraft have evolved to being termed unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs. Knowing the regs can both keep you out of trouble and keep you from causing harm. Canadian aviation regulations will keep you out of the harm's way of a plane, and they include a ceiling limit of 400 feet above ground, and you can't fly your drone within 5.6 kilometers of an airport or landing strip. Always fly during daylight hours and keep your drone in plain sight. Now that point actually made me think whether or not people in the mainstream, when they write stories like this, if they actually seriously do their own research, or if their form of research is Google searching and the first thing that pops up, they basically copy and paste that. Because in terms of flying altitude, while that's true, 400 feet is what the general rule is, you can actually go higher, even for a basic operator. So here it says here in the regulations for maximum altitude, in uncontrolled airspace, RPAS are normally limited by regulations to a maximum altitude of 400 feet AGL or 100 feet above the tallest obstruction within 200 feet laterally. So realistically, if you're doing a real estate job or construction site, if the building's actually taller than 400 feet, like here, it says you can actually go higher than that, assuming that you stay within a 200 feet range laterally of it. So I would think there, you would think, okay, well, that's really technical. Like an average person is not really going to bother, I guess, researching something like that, or this guy, so technically it's true. But then reading in further, it makes me think, no, it just sounds like they didn't do their research. Because as it goes on, it says, keep your UAV away from police and first responders. Always and don't come within 30 meters of vehicles, vessels, or people. That's actually inaccurate. That's true, you should stay away from first responders and stuff like that. But in terms of keeping away from things like vehicles and vessels, that's actually not true. That's how it was actually way back, but they got rid of that. Because to my understanding, I even have emails and stuff like that from the Transport Canada. They consider people inside a house or inside a vehicle, they're protected per se, so they're not gonna regulate that. So you can actually fly over things like a vehicle as long as you obviously use common sense and be safe. And it makes me think how information coming from more official sources like this, as an average person, you read this, I can see why there's so much dispute all the time. When a person flying a drone outside is doing it perfectly fine, legal, and someone goes, no, it's not, because they read stuff like this from more official sources. It says, trespass to property laws extend into the sky. Don't try to skirt them, you can't fly that high. These tips are passed along by the Kalale OPP who are investigating just such an incident. It makes me think with that comment on whether or not their investigation with whatever this incident is based on inaccurate knowledge in that sense. For example, someone flying near a vehicle and they're like, hey, that's against the law, even though that's not true. And the other interesting thing I saw today, I don't know why this was floating around. I know there's rumors of the Mavic Mini 2, but this one, there was actually pictures of it. So you can see here, the Mavic Mini 2, it looks like almost the same thing as the original one, except there's rear sensors, as it says here, like on the back. As well, there's pictures of the drone. The top looks a little different with the battery where it's on top instead of the bottom. That would be actually better in my opinion if it's on top. I always find it a little weird. You have to turn it upside down or something like that, turn it on and then flip it over to start it up. I always thought that would affect things like the calibration and all that. Would you think this is real photos though? It's just kind of weird where it's almost virtually the same thing when you look at it. Same screw propellers and stuff like that. Though I would assume it would be 4K. As I mentioned before, to my knowledge, the original one could do 4K. They just didn't activate it for whatever reason. And another interesting thought is obviously the benefit for this drone is it's under 250. And if you think about it, in places like Japan, there's a different version actually. The battery is a lot lighter, so that actually gives them a lot of flexibility to add different stuff to this. Because I even said before, I would rather sacrifice, I suppose, a little bit of the battery time to get better features. I think it's better overall that way. I don't personally care about things like the sensors though, honestly. Just with the way I just fly and capture stuff. But yeah, let's see, I guess, if this is real or not in the end. Actually, the camera on this phone is supposed to have a really good zoom, or not good, so to speak, in terms of, I guess, super quality, but it's supposed to go really far. So I thought I'd try it. It's digital, so it's going to get pixelated and stuff. Is that not an example of how people being afraid of a drone wide angle lens camera where people are like a little dot yet your smartphone can zoom in so close? All right, see you guys later.